Easy enough there?
Yeah,
We are.
this is how we prefer to be
Yes.
at all times.
So, which brother would you pick if you really could pick one?
Preferably both at the same time.
Ah,
Interesting.
well, I think that fits with the Duplass themed movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Absolutely.
Love triangle?
Throw in both.
That's bad phone etiquette.
Wasn't
right
us,
there.
that wasn't us.
That's right, let's clarify
Yes.
that. That wasn't you. So now, you're no stranger to Duplass films, you're no stranger, you're the newcomer here. So how did you fit into the world of Duplass in working on Do-Deca?
Well, fortunately, I had met Mark years before the shoot, and so I'd kind of followed them as a fan and seen some of their films. And then I actually got to work with Jay on a short film in 2007 called Interview that went to Sundance, and it was just a sneak peek of how they work. So I had a general idea, and then was just thrown in the mix with veteran Duplass actors, and went from there.
So now coming into the mix, having seen a snippet of how they work, working on a full production, how is that in comparison to just the little bit that you'd been exposed to before?
It exceeded my expectations. I mean, it was just the most incredible experience, really, as an actor I could hope for, And so it just became a joy. It wasn't a fearful thing. It was, and it was comforting having side conversations early with them about how does this go down and the early goings. And then once we got, into the 24-day shoot, it became to feel second nature.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guys talk about, the two of you, about the athletic competition? I mean, I don't know how it was edited, but it sure seemed like you guys were really running for long stretches. And, other competitions, if you could give us a sample of what that was like. We'll start with Steve.
Yeah, certainly. Some of the competitions we really were doing our damnedest to win, and they were real. Others, like arm wrestling, for example, there was a lot of face and arm acting. So what you're seeing was make-believe. And then as we had the Do-Deca competitions, Mark and I personally have our own egos about what sports we really are good at in real life. So we wanted to win those sports. Like Mark is excellent in baseball, and he wanted to for sure win the baseball event.
And what are you good at, and what did you want to win?
I'm decent at basketball, so I
Decent.
wanted
Very
to,
Come on.
He's a beast.
I wanted to win basketball.
What about the running? It just seemed that we actually were seeing you in long stretches of running.
That was real puke.
That there was a lot of running that day, but that's definitely the magic of editing also.
What about you, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, the sporting events were the thrill. I particularly enjoyed the long jump. That was kind of got us started, and having no time to really YouTube what do long jumpers do, I was just sort of flashing back to Carl Lewis and the Olympics and trying to recreate his pre-jump form, and I wanted to win that one, and sort of channeled in something extra for that one.
Your form was
My
excellent.
grandpa-
It was.
I'm-
It was really.
How did you not injure yourselves?
We did.
We did actually. We did. There were injuries on the film. I injured myself playing laser tag actually.
I took care of you on that.
We had a planned fall, and my laser gun slammed into my head. But luckily, Jen is trained, and she's an EMT, so she took care of me.
And Jen has also played a nurse.
I have.
Yes, so.
I grew up, my dad is an ER doctor, and my mom's a paramedic firefighter, and I was an EMT for 7 years, and I grew up in a very medical-centric family, and one of my first acting jobs was playing Nurse Judy on Guiding Light, and an ER nurse, no less, and my dad, when I told him, was like, I always knew you'd work in the ER.
Well, so now, did this help with the budgeting and having to have first aid and medics on set because
Yeah.
you could do double duty?
Fit right into the business
They gave me
plan,
extra
yes.
daiquiris at night on the days that
I was
had
going to
to
say, an
administer
extra
first aid.
check, but extra daiquiris
No.
could be even
I
better.
am paid in daiquiris attention, all directors out there, you can pay me in booze.
Well, I still want to know, who can hold their breath the longest?
That was one scripted for Steve to win, right?
Yeah, I was supposed to win that for story, so we really don't
That's one
know.
I'd like to,
We need to have a
give
rematch
shot,
on some of
actually.
these things. Let's go up to the pool,
There-
guys.
I was just- That's it.
Let's do it.
We got a pool here now, you know?
And were you bummed that you didn't get to compete in any of
So
Great
these
question.
events?
Great
Bummed.
question.
And what would be your event?
All of them.
Yes.
No, I mean, the trickiest part of this movie was acting like I didn't want the competition to be happening, because I am a competitive maniac who gets like hardcore pumping when there's anything to compete about. So they would go and do the sports activities all day, and I would just be at home like itching out of my skin to get in there.
But you could use that frustration for your character
Absolutely,
too. Redirect
definitely.
it.
Oh yeah, well when they come home after that, I was all like, I can't believe you guys left me at home. But came out very differently in words.
What is your experience of working with the brothers? How was that like for all three of you?
Oh man, it's so incredible. It's hard to put into a few words actually, but it's something I'll never forget. Hopefully, get into more opportunities, because it's just an actor's dream, really. They're actors, directors. I'm sure you've heard this before, and reason being, they just really they have an eye on a piece of art they want that is based out of story and honesty and that comes from performance, and so they really nurture that the whole way through, and they won't move on until they have what they want, and you feel just safe and more able to take risks than you normally get in other projects.
Yeah, they're both super sensitive and compassionate. Mark is an actor himself. Jay studied acting for a while, and as an actor, you really appreciate that sensitivity on set, because it makes you feel safe, you feel trusted, and like Mark says, you feel like you can take risks, and it pays off in a movie like this, because you take those risks and you find gold sometimes.
When you work on larger projects, there's such a pressure to stay on schedule and get it right the first time and move along quickly. I think that there's a lot of productions that would like to have each shot done in one take and then moving forward. And that can be really intimidating for an actor, at least for me, where you just feel like you have to get it right the first time, that you can't relax into it. And Mark and Jay will let you have an entire week if you need it for one moment. And luckily, we usually don't need an entire week. But they get it right, and if you don't get it right, they keep on going.
Now, Steve and Jen, you had the opportunity to work on, you've been in everything they've done.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you've both done Baghead, you've done Do-Deca, and you both worked on Jeff Who Lives at Home, which is actually a little bigger budget than what we're normally used to seeing.
Yeah.
So, with more flexibility, a little more money, and more freedom, do the boys change in their styling or the vibe of the set at all, or the format of shooting?
Yeah, the set on Jeff, even though there were superstars like Susan Sarandon and Jason Segel and Ed Helms, was the same. The brothers, they keep the atmosphere of the set the same, whether it's stars or not. And we all felt very safe, very comfortable, very relaxed. And it needs to be that way, because those stars are improvising too. And they need to be able to feel safe in that environment.
Oh, for a viewer, what you were talking about risks that you feel free to take.
Mhm.
What kind of risks can we see on screen that you took?
The final scene of the movie where we're fist fighting on the lawn, what we shot first was me breaking down and crying in that scene. That's what they wanted, and that's what we did. But it wasn't working, so they wanted to see if something else would work. And on another take, there literally was just a basketball goal off to the side with a little ball, and I just went instinctually, picked it up, dribbled it, and dunked it twice. And everyone was like, okay, that's weird but good. And that made it into the movie. You know, similarly at the end of Baghead, another one of their movies, there's a final hospital scene, and I'm in a hospital bed, and I'm supposed to get really mad at Ross Partridge, Jen's boyfriend, and like smash the DV camera and yell at him. But Ross came into the room and was like so sad and beating himself up so much that I decided in that moment to take it in a different direction and laugh and sort of forgive him. And then they were like, okay, we didn't plan on that, but that works better. So certainly they are, you know, those are two examples of out of improvisation and instinct, things working and they stay in the movies. So
Now, Steve, it's common knowledge that Hector Elizondo is in every Gary Marshall film, and Gary actually has it written into contracts that Hector must have a part in his films. Given that you have now been in every Duplass production, can we see you taking advantage of the Elizondo contract and turning it into the Zissis contract?
that is a great idea. Thank you for that.
I don't think he even needs that contract. I think it is an unspoken
But
thing that
as
he
they
has
get
become
bigger,
their
though, as they get
muse. True,
bigger,
true,
you
we need to
know,
nail
Yeah.
them.
and the studio's throwing out money, they may try and,
Marginalize me?
yeah,
Let's have
I
your
think
people
you
talk
need
to
to.
them.
Can I just say I love Hector Elizondo, and in Pretty Woman, isn't he just like this magical?
Yeah.
He's got this supporting role, but he's so magical. He like
That's why he's in
back to
every
that
movie.
That's right. See, that's why Steve is in every Duplass movie.
You're magical too, Steve.
you know,
They speak
you.
of him time and again and being their muse, their Greek muse. Yeah.
I was wondering, what do you guys feel, did you learn anything about family or bring any conflicts from your own families into the making of this film? I walked in a minute late, I apologize, I hope this isn't repeating anybody, but is anything that applies from real life that you put into the film or vice versa that you drew out of it?
Yeah, I have two older brothers, and we were super close. And obviously, you know, within that, you fight like crazy throughout the years, and so I drew a tremendous amount of our relationships and the role, and spent a lot of time after we shoot calling back home and talking to them, you know, just to get some inspiration and to run, you know, when there was moments of how to make a scene, you know, specifically relate to something we did in our childhood. We could draw from that. They were very all over the map here. And yeah, specifically the fight scene at the end. My oldest brother used to throw me in the bark dust to rile me up, and so it was pleasurable to have that actually make it into the movie and justify why a grown man would actually get up and punch his brother, you know, to be repeatedly thrown into the bark dust. So.
Yeah, I have an older brother as well, and the opening scene of the movie where I'm in the bathtub and I'm speaking about my fictional brother defecating in the bathtub as we were children, that really did happen to me. My older brother defecated in the bathtub when we were children, just to terrorize me and torture me.
But he's regretting that now, because that's made it into almost every interview.
Yeah, I'm making sure to get that out
So
there.
now mentioning that, the bathtub scene, Jen, tell us, was he a natural in the tub or covered with
Absolutely,
bubbles?
I wouldn't
or-
have it any other way. No, I think he was wearing a bathing suit or shorts.
I was wearing a European Speedo with the Greek flag.
Across the
On the-
front
on the
area.
buttocks.
Oh, the buttock.
So no,
Maybe
no
you were wearing
bubbles, no Mr. Bubble in the tub?
No, I mean, I was trying to convince them to let me get in the bathtub with him and, you know, no beans.
No beans.
They kept it a family set, huh?
They did, literally.
What do you hope the audience gets out of seeing this movie?
I hope that they can sit in a theater and watch it and see bits and pieces of their own lives reflected back at them and be able to laugh at the sad, hilarious misery that comes when we feel a little lost in our lives. And I think we all feel that at some point. And when you can recognize that in other people and see how small it is and how little it really matters at any given moment, it can make you feel inspired and enlightened as well. Not enlightened, lightened.
I certainly hope people laugh and have a good time, but I really hope people with maybe a broken family or a broken relationship within a family, it doesn't have to be brothers, realize that it's never too late to try to fix it. And then it's important to try, and try again and again and again, because family's everything, and I think it's just beautiful when you can work out a lifelong battle with your sibling or parent and fix it.
Yeah, I totally echo that sentiment, and also I think it's pretty poignant that the end of the film, I basically just invite my brother that he can come stay with me and with my family.
Makes me cry every
It's
time.
really, really small, but it's so poignant and profound in the context of everything we've just seen. So, yeah.
Since you're playing estranged brothers, did you try to purposely stay away from each other? I mean, you kind of can't, but did you have this push-pull where, you're scene partners and you have to discuss what's going on in the scene, but you kind of want to still...
I definitely, the first scene we shot is the dinner scene where Mark has the VHS tape on the table and he's antagonizing me. But I remember, that was the first time I met Mark, and I just was like keeping a real sense of tension inside of me, and I was barely even looking him in the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of used the fact that we didn't know each other to my advantage at that point, because we had never met, so I was able to draw upon that for some of the estrangedness.
You had the estranged part down, and then it was working on creating the
Right.
the camaraderie.
So now, Mark,
Brother.
because you're supposed to be this great poker player,
Uh-huh.
how good are you at poker?
Actually, absolutely terrible. I don't like poker games. I don't like to play it. I like to be the heckler in the background. And
So this is why it wasn't one of the events in the pentathlon.
yeah, and there was some poker sort of cut out of it and substituted it. The scene where I'm prank phone calling with my nephew. That was, an idea. Sort of instead of showing him how to play cards and bonding around the poker, it was, let's show a different side. The poker's been established. Let's do something that's just more fun. And I was grateful for that because I can't. I was practicing on the plane. I'm like, oh, and I'm almost there, but I can't do it.
And how many prank phone calls did you guys pull off in your youth?
I did it a lot. You know what I would do, though, is I would do singing telegrams. It was kind of a dorky prank phone calling where I would look and it would be like, Joseph and Mary McDonald. And I would call and I would say, hi, is Mary McDonald there? And she, oh, this is Mary. I said, I have a singing telegram for you from John. She, oh, you do? And then I would sing a song to her and, sure enough, I'm sure that John came home and maybe got a little bit of action that night. So, but I thought that I was very witty and amusing, and now I see how silly it was.
So you were saving marriages.
I was saving marriages in my prank phone calls. That's what I do. Anything else?
Do you suggest brothers at home even do the Do-Deca-Pentathlon in real life?
It depends on the brothers.
Yeah, and the events, of course, how safe they are. But I think anything that brings you together in the end, give it a shot. Sports are a pretty good place to start.
Maybe like teams of brothers going against other teams of brothers, so it brings them together.
Isn't that Family Feud?
That's why that show's awesome.
Great.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thanks so much.
Of course, I want to see brothers.